So, as I was bathing and shaving, I had the video getting saved, 2 hours, and I come back, my system had crashed. I check, yep, firewall was shut off on my internet security, computer security. I was hacked and maliciously silenced on the 2 hour video. Gonna see if it saved the main file or if I've got to rebuild it. Looks like I can restore it. Good. So there's a difference between Avraham Gileadi and myself. He caved, and so the church demoted him, but he's back to take care of his family. I did not cave, and the church destroyed me. And because they destroyed me, I've got nothing to lose. And so I can do these investigations on the church and do all these bombshells that no one else in the universe comes up with and finds. And so the church, for failing to murder me, is at war with me. So I'm going to add this into the video and we'll try again.
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
The name of the church was not chosen by man. It was given by the Savior. When we remove the Lord's name, Emmanuel, from the name of his church, we inadvertently remove him as the central focus of our worship and our lives. To remove the Lord's name from the Lord's church is a major victory for Satan. Thus, the name of the church is not negotiable.
So plain and precious. Finally, the Book of Mormon is the keystone of testimony. Just as the arch crumbles if the keystone is removed, so does all the church stand or fall with the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. The enemies of the church understand this clearly.
I'm Travis Wayne Goodsell. The following content has been added to, and so it was necessary to do this revision intro. As I talk about in the main section, this video came from inspiration while I was out running this morning, several hours ago. And it intended to be, as I remembered finally and wrote it down, it's about the scandalous cover-up of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in their footnoting of the Scriptures in regards to what the learning of the Jews is. They purposely left out footnotes and put in wrong footnotes and wrong translations to cover up and hide the intention. I'm checking on a Bible dictionary reference, see if they've got it. Under Jew, the name indicated first of all a man of the kingdom of Judah, as distinguished from persons belonging to the northern kingdom of Israel. Its first chronological occurrence is in 2 Kings 16:6, about 740 BCE. It has become customary to use the word Jew to refer to all the descendants of Jacob, but this is a mistake. It would be limited to those of the kingdom of Judah, or more especially those of the tribe of Judah and its associates. Thus all Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews, because they are descendants of other tribes of Israel, also upon the earth. So they don't talk about it. They do correctly indicate that, but nope, they don't have Judaism. They will not talk about what the learning of the Jews is. You have to figure it out by studying your scriptures yourself and removing any Christian bias interpretation. And so, yes, I was going to talk about my history with working with the church, Deuteronomy 18, 15 through 19, and the footnotes. That both Avraham Gileadi and I share a common attempt to get the footnotes correct, and the church on both our occasions rejected them. there is a huge scandal. And it's because of Joseph Smith being a religion in the learning of the Jews, not Christian, not Jesus. And so this video morphed as I began to make a bombshell discovery after bombshell discovery, as is my custom when I do these live investigations for you. And this is another one that'll go down in the annals of history. And I go over Joseph Smith History, verse 1, in which Joseph Smith is condemning the missionaries for telling converts and other people that the church is Christian, and that the name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ. And he says that these evil-disposed and designing missionaries are militant to attempt to destroy the character of the church and its progress in the world. And so the name of the church from the Joseph Smith Papers, and is in the video that you already saw, was the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And Willard Richards is the one who changed it to Jesus Christ. These are the Danites. And there's a bombshell after bombshell after bombshell, because the leaders of this Danite group are not named in the list of the Danites, as only Heber C. Kimball I was able to find in the ledger when I went over it. I didn't do a thorough research, I just came across Heber C. Kimball when I was going over it, and noticed Hiram Smith also was indicated by polygamous wives that he never had. And so yes, these Danites were the secret combination in the church as Joseph Smith describes them in verse 1 of the 1838 history. This is far more valuable to Mormons than they want to acknowledge. That these Danites were the secret combination for the religion, the government, and the economy, as the ledger revealed it as such. The religion, yeah, they were the missionaries lying about the church, being Christian with Jesus. As the government, that's the Council of 50, led by Brigham Young. Joseph Smith had nothing to do with it. Sidney Rigdon had nothing to do with it. Hiram Smith had nothing to do with it. Joseph was running for president. He had no time to coup America. If you read Joseph's documents, he has no interest in coupping America. He has no interest in establishing a kingdom in place of America. It's the Danites who did. And the economy has to do with the failed bank of 1837, Kirtland Safety Society, for which is referred to here in this longer video portion, in which section 119 is completely in violation of the Book of Mormon. These Danites are in complete antagonism towards the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith's words. As if, well, Oliver Cowdery, when he learns from David Whitmer what the Danites had told him, he was horrified. He couldn't fathom how Joseph could just flip into this alternate personality as a Danite leader, ordering the murder of Mormons and practicing polygamy and destroying villages, pillaging, raping, plundering, all in the name. And it was unfathomable, but not as unfathomable as changing the name of the church to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was appalled. He couldn't believe it. How Joseph would actually do that. And so, yeah, it's the Danites. They were what they accused Joseph of, being Mormon. And Brigham Young, Heber C. Kimball, Willard Richards, John Taylor were the leaders, but kept themselves a distance so as not to be connected with them. And in so doing, they get exposed, and I go over the various exposures that do indeed actually tie them together instead of keeping their distance. So the other video then will have to be for another day. But here we go. So at the end of this video, as this will be put at the beginning, I was searching for the 84 names on the Danite Manifesto. I have not found that one yet, but I have found the list of names of the judge that was threatened from the election fraud there in Daviess County. And it does list the Smith boys. And I've already done the videos confirming that Joseph Smith was not there. And therefore confirming that it was the Danites who framed Joseph Smith, and thus his other brothers. Because Joseph Smith was in far west Missouri. He was selling land to Emma in the Joseph Smith papers. And it's too far away for him to have gotten there. Even if it was late in the evening, it would still have been too long of a horse ride to get there to be a part of that mob that threatened to decertify the election. Yeah. And so, yes, I do see these others who are listed not only in the ledger that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints rushed to release before Thanksgiving. They didn't bother to type it in, other than tithing this day, donation this day, as I went over in that 6-hour video, 6-part video. But of interest, Brigham Young's brothers, Lorenzo, Phineas, and Joseph, are all listed as members too, but not Brigham, as Joseph Smith Jr. is listed. That's interesting. And there's a Kimball who is also listed. Newberry. Those were missionaries in New York. And then there's a Tippett, and a Riggs. See, and it shows Sidney Rigdon, but not Brigham. And Hunter, Howard W. Hunter, Danite. Only lasted 9 months. Thomas B. Marsh is even listed. which is the second confirmation that he wasn't a part of it because he left because of the Danites. He was threatened. And not Brigham. And then there's the Lees, John D. Lee, and there's Higby, who Orange White, who was Lyman White's son, had come to Higby home and saw that he was practicing polygamy. And Higby said, Joseph Smith approves of this. Shh, don't tell anyone. It was the Danites. There's New OK Knight. It was New OK Whitney, though, wasn't it? From section 117. And then Benjamin Franklin Johnson is listed here. He was the one who moved before this war to Adimondaomen, where he was arrested in Adimondaomen. Who lives in Adimondaomen? Only Mormons. New OK Whitney, section 117, right next door to Adimondaomen. And New OK Whitney is a Danite, condemned by Joseph Smith. And so Benjamin Franklin Johnson is the famous one in school or in seminary that we are told that I had been threatened, he was arrested and threatened to deny the church of Joseph Smith. And he never denied, and the pistol or rifle misfired and proves the church is true. And here he is, a Danite. Again confirming Adimondaomen is the secret headquarters of the Danites. Section 116. And so, yeah, George Kimball is listed here, but not Heber C. Kimball. The Smiths, Sidney Rigdon, oh yeah, but not Brigham or Heber C. Kimball, but George Kimball and Brigham's brothers. Do you see what's going on? Who took over the church while Joseph was in Liberty Jail? Brigham and Heber. As the Danites were cooing the church. They ran the church. And here Brigham is, the leader of the church now. But the Danites chased the leaders out. Got Joseph locked up. Liberty Jail. Do you see how this was done? In trying to keep them distant from this group, they exposed themselves with the other evidences as the leaders of this group. And thus they framed the Smiths and Sidney Rigdon. So yeah, just fascinating. Because I guess they didn't think that people would find the documents later on. Okay, I do not see Newell K. Whitney. Yeah, I don't see Newell K. Whitney from section 117. I see a Whitaker. He was my priest-quorum advisor. I spiked the ball on his crotch. He was down for the rest of the night. Felt so bad, but it was so hilarious. Yeah. I don't see Whitney. Interesting. Because Joseph Smith exposes him as a Danite right next door to Adimondaomen. But he's not here either. Fascinating. Because you think that he'd at least put him on here to show that he was a Danite. Because they do the section 117. And Shurtleff It's unclear because they use an I instead of an E, but maybe they changed it over time. And there's a G. Yeah, no wonder you're an ass. Betrays Joseph. You know, Stewarts, Stevens, Stouts, Stringhams, Tanners, and Covey. So Gerald and Sandra Tanner are descendants of Danites. And there's Smoot from the Reed-Smoot hearings in Congress. Or in Porter Rockwell, Danite. Another bombshell confirmation. He was ordered by the Danites to execute the governor, who then signed the Mormon extermination order, blaming Joseph. When it was Brigham and Heber. Gotcha. And Phineas Richards, not Willard Richards. Again. The family members, the brothers, but not the actual one that was leading the church. But the Smiths? Nope, all of them. That is fascinating. Let's see Taylor's. I don't see a Taylor. Nope, no John Taylor either. Oh my God. I did download this one, right? Didn't I? Yeah, I got this. Oh man. And there's a Nelson. Nelson, I don't think is, because his parents were not members, it seems. And he grew up at least not active when he did his little conference talk about his family life and forcing his father not to drink alcohol. I don't think they are these Nelsons, but if so, that would be awesome. Nelson, baby name meaning Marion Nelson, Russell Marion, meaning Lucifer. Leading the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, run by the Danites, there are more bombshells in this video if you keep watching. And then he is a descendant of the Danites. Just, oh my God. And then tying him to the Skull and Bones of the University of Utah, which I'm still waiting to find out if other prophets get put into the apostleship because of membership in the University of Utah Skull and Bones. Still waiting on that one. Pettigrew, Miles, Milliken, Moore. There was a Moore on my mission. And so he loved the hymn, More Holiness Give Me. Because it kept saying more. Maynard, Hunter, Howard, Hewlett, Hodge, Holbrook, Hendricks, Jones. I recognize all of these Mormon names. Durfee, Harding, Benjamin Franklin Johnson, Goddard, Grant, Daniels, Cox. I already exposed him as a Danite from the ledger that was released. And there's Benjamin Covey, George W. Gee, and Gibbs. I worked with the Gibbs. Goddard. He's not active anymore. Gates, Gardner, Gallagher, Frampton, Foote, King Follett. Interesting. He was the acting president of the 70s in 1838. That's the sermon that Joseph Smith gave at his funeral that caused controversy, and Brigham Young didn't want it published. Chase, Clapp, Clark, Clausen, Coolidge, Correa. I recognize these names as 70s. Edwards, Emmett, Dykes, Billings, Carter, Caruth, Carner, Call, Carn, Benson. Barnes, Barlow, Brunson, Butler. I knew a Sister Butler on the mission. Brunson, Everett, Avery, Brown, Bosley, Bozarth, Brace, Brashear. I remember a Brashear. Elder Brashear. Andros. I remember, yeah. It was not Massapequa Park, but it was Long Island. It may have been just Massapequa, not Massapequa. Yeah. Andros. Elder Andros, my companion in Massapequa. I was supposed to only be there until after the baptism, but then the baptism didn't go through, and he didn't want to leave anyway. And so I'm there with just my clothes. All my stuff is back in Poughkeepsie because that's where we were supposed to go. And he refused to go because he wanted to be there for the baptism. And then the baptism canceled. And we're stuck there. And after 2 weeks, I'm going, So he finally consented and we went back. But that was Andros. Yeah. And then Allen and Aldred. You know, popular FLDS names now, or extremist Mormons, Aldridge, and Binghams. We know those Binghams, don't we? There's a Bingham High School, isn't there? Dear God. And say they're even put in the minutes of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That wasn't the name of the church. So yeah, I just needed to get that out there for you so that you knew that I know you, not just from the ledger before Thanksgiving that was put out, but I confirmed it with that threat to the judge to accuse Joseph Smith so that he could get locked up in prison for Liberty Jail. It worked. That's how you do your research, guys. So, 16 minutes? Wow. You're not going to watch the rest of the video, are you? You're not even listening anymore to this. And as I was getting breakfast here and uploading the big hour-and-a-half portion of the video, I realized, and I don't know if I mentioned it, Thomas B. Marsh was wrongly signed. It's spelled wrong. It's Thomas D. Marsh. And the person who's recording this claims that the two Danite documents are the only places where it's misspelled as Thomas D. Marsh instead of Thomas B. Marsh. Again, confirming that they were purposely framing certain leaders, the Smiths, Thomas B. Marsh, to get rid of them, Sidney Rigdon, so that Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball, Willard Richards, and John Taylor, as not being listed and not being threatened by the Danites, yet taking over the church with the Danites still in the church. And the Danites come with Brigham Young to the valley, and Brigham Young changes the endowment to include the Danite death penalties. Yep, it is it is exposed by putting all the documents together. Just incredible. So yeah, Willard Richards, John Taylor murdered Joseph and Hiram at Carthage jail. Everything I've been going over with you just further confirmed, and all the extra pieces fit together to explain the other parts, and just beautiful. Travis Wayne Goodsell. Here we are on yet another day in the countdown to the date that no Mormon or critic knows or understands. Because it's not the learning of the Jews that you're using. You're using Christian bias. So originally, last night, while I was in bed, I came up with Mormons feel threatened, so they either fight or flight. But while I was out running, just got back, I came up with this one. And with over 7,000 videos after 7 years, I have covered this numerous times. This is just a different presentation method, because I'm not quoting the previous videos or replaying them. I'd have to go digging through the files to find them. It was over 7,000 videos. I'm closing in on 10 terabytes of storage space. So a lot of files to go searching for. And obviously the titles are hits and misses over the years, and thus an important reason why to keep redoing them under a different title name, so that if one title doesn't work, another title might. But the majority of the hate comments, where Mormons feel threatened, arise when I don't include all of the particular information that they're expecting to hear, and then when they don't, then they attack and pounce, thinking that they're going to own me. And yet, in their pouncing, they reveal themselves as antichrists, as they accuse me of being antichrist. And so, over the last month, I have 5 videos that have surpassed 1,000 views, and 4 of those 5 are recently, within the last week. And so the number 1 is mass excommunication, 2,265 views as of this morning, or as of midnight, when YouTube stopped the recording of the Tattleaf from last night or yesterday. Number 2 at 2,064 is ignorant about Mormonism. Critics become very popular. Mormons take it personally. They think it's them who are ignorant about Mormonism. Yeah, you too. But I was focusing on critics who were Mormon, and thus when they were Mormon, they too were ignorant about Mormonism. They're still ignorant about Mormonism leaving the church. That's part of the baggage that comes with having been Mormon. And then number 3, the first black apostle from Kenya. $1,726 views. They're racist. It's never gonna happen. You should have known that. Number 4, with 1,443, trial by fire, Kevin Sorbo as Hercules, the Mormon Jesus. And that was before the devotional that Nelson gave. That was on November 30th. And already I'm setting it up for you to prepare. He's going to do it. He's going to say it. Pay attention. Listen. Watch. He's going to do it. And he did it. And there was a sign in the heavens that said he was going to do it. And then the AP, Associated Press, sealed it off with a bombshell reporting on the very same topic. And then number 5, good old Jasmine, 1,117 views, interracial couple investigating LDS church taught about fence sitting. Their polygamy one only got to 868. And then number 6, what does it mean for the Book of Mormon to be in the learning of the Jews? 940. So, signing out, YouTube algorithms are recommending a sponsored ad, Sparkle and Shine this holiday season. Asian woman with something purple, like I don't know what that is. It's for the South Coast Plaza. And then number 2 is me, the last video I did last night, which included the church news, which is why Gong is on the thumbnail picture. So only the chosen ones who watch to the end of the video gets rewarded with a Gong message. And here's the sad reality of Mormonism. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have no authority from Joseph Smith. They claim it, they don't have it. Brigham Young was not authorized to automatically succeed as the president of the 12 missionaries, as he was. But that's the way we currently believe it's supposed to be done, because that's what Brigham was. And in order to maintain his authority, he's got to maintain that that's the way Joseph Smith expected it to be. But Section 107, verse 22 says, nope, Brigham has no authority to do that. And not a single Mormon knows and understands it, and not a single former ex-critical Mormon knows it either. It's a kind of a big deal, because the church is all obsessed with authority. Obey them. They speak for Jesus. You have to obey. We have authority. We have the mantle. You need to fear us. Obey. Mormons don't obey. They've always been rebels. And yet they stay in the church. And they attack me. You're the disobedient one. If you can't be faithful in your own religion, you can't complain about me criticizing it. You have no authority to do so. No credibility. If you're not going to obey, you cannot cast the first stone. Ooh. And so it was made worse when the United States of America took away what authority they had in the first place. 1887, with the Edmunds Tucker Act, church ceased to exist on the face of the earth. The United States locked them all up, shut it down. It ceased to exist on the face of the earth. Bye-bye priesthood and the authority thereof, i.e., amen. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And so, yes, the prophets deceived Mormons, pretended like it never happened. And so, still to this day, Mormons never know about that incident. And they purposely don't study the history of the United States of America in relation to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so, there is no authority of the prophets. It's gone. And that's why they're white supremacist. The whole gambit. Racist, sexist, bigoted, hateful of the poor, anti-Semitic, etc., etc., etc. And yet, the little teeny boppers going out on their missions, now 72,000 because Oakes told the 16-year-old girls to hurry up and get married and start having babies back in May. And so, again, Mormons disobey. And the girls retaliated and rebelled and filed to go on missions. And now 72,000 because of the girls going on missions. And so, because there's no authority, not a single one of the prophets, seers, revelators are indeed prophets, seers, revelators. They do not demonstrate any of the gifts. They don't have them. It doesn't exist. Growing up in the church, I've heard many Mormons use excuses to justify why the prophets have never demonstrated any of the gifts of prophet, seer, and revelator. They talk about, well, when it's necessary for us, God will reveal it to the president of the church and it will be done. How many more decades do we have to go until it'll be done? And notice translation is missing. They don't want translation. They want nothing to do with it, despite Article of Faith number 8. And so, Mormons instead have to stretch to apologize for the prophets. And so, number 3, David Alexander, Old Man Mormon. He has Miracle of God. Elder Renland shares his amazing testimony of the miraculous healing of Elder Holland. And that was 8 hours ago when I did this, so yeah, it's still 8 hours ago. And so he has his picture where he's on there and he's got his arms up. Yay, church is true! He thinks this is fruit of the proof that the church is true. It's not for seership. It's not for prophetship. It's not for revelatorship. And definitely has nothing to do with translation, but they don't claim it anyway. And so, his thumbnail picture has Renland and Holland sitting close together, talking. Holland's got his arm on Renland, which I understand that means he likes him. That's what I heard at Rick's when I went there. When a girl touches you, Travis, it means she likes you. So, Holland touching Renland, so I guess that means he likes him. I don't know. Women don't touch me. That's just what I heard. And so the text for the meme, Acting President Jeffrey R. Holland's Miracle from God. Is it a miracle from God? Well, what happened? Well, back in 21 or 22, he comes out talking to some idol-worshipping Christians about how porn is equivalent to coronavirus. And so, earlier this year, at the April conference, we find out he will not be in attendance because he's got coronavirus. So I guess he was looking at porn. And I see he hasn't learned his lesson. He's touching Renland. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. And so David Alexander has gotten 2.9K plus views in the 8 hours, dwarfing me on my top 5 videos for the month. And even for the week, as 4 out of the 5 were from the week. And so there's a lot of Mormons that are believing this. It's a miracle from God. They have no authority. We just previously went over this. Are you still wanting to deny this? This is the desperation of Mormons to prove the church is true when it's already confirmed it's a fraud. They're beating a dead horse and saying, look, it moved. Yeah, because you beat it. It's dead. But it moved. I saw it. I felt it. It's true. You have to accept my feelings. And so what happened? Well, he goes to the hospital. He's a prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in Utah. Do you think it's a Mormon who's the doctor? Do you think that Mormon is going to take extra special care of him beyond a regular client? Because there always might be the case that he could have died and nobody wants to be that doctor. Where Mormons burn your house down because you let the prophet die. And so it's medical science that took care of him. It was medical science that came up with the vaccines for which he was vaccinated for. It was medical science that treated him and cared for him and nursed him back to health. Medical science. And here, David Alexander is in denial of science and saying it was a miracle from God. And 2.9K views in 8 hours support and believe him. Unless there's some trolls, but I doubt he has the trolls that I have. I'm not knowing of ex-Mormons who troll Mormon sites. I've never heard of that. Do you guys do that? Do you guys do unto Mormons as they do unto you? Did you catch that one? And then number 7, Part 1, Revelation for Youth, All Things Through Christ. And that's the name of the channel, All Things Through Christ. Come follow me. He only has 35 views. They only have 35 views in one day. But again, Revelator, Revelation for Youth. They just had one recently. That's what he's referring to. Revelation for Youth. By who? What source? You guys? You guys don't have authority. Where's your authority come from? Are you talking about the apostle who did that devotional for youth? Again, Mormons are desperate. They have to redefine words. Like testimony. It can't mean what it actually means. It has to be some supernatural spiritual thing that Christians already came up with. Why are you using it? You're non-Trinitarian, Mormons. You shouldn't believe in supernatural stuff because you're non-Trinitarian. Oh, wait a minute. That's half and half. Hercules, Kevin Sorbo. Got it. So see where we're going with this? Joseph Smith had 2 visions. The first and the second. in the first vision, let's go over it. There's some naughty no-nos by the church service missionaries for the 1981 edition of the Pearl of Great Prize. And so we get to 1A. And you should not be up anymore. And so Joseph Smith is saying, owing to the many reports which have been put in circulation. How is the church getting known to the rest of the United States in that time period? If Mormons are just living together in their little community all by themselves, how is the rest of the world knowing that they exist? Seriously? You don't know? Missionaries. Missionaries put in circulation reports about the church. Hello? Have you ever heard of the Book of Mormon? Here's a copy of it. You have to pay. You had to pay back then. See, the church now, they're filthy rich, that they receive donations to pay for the publication of the Book of Mormon. So that we can give it out for free now. Okay? So the missionaries going out to talk about the Book of Mormon. Okay? They're not doing the missionary discussions, just the Book of Mormon. But the reports that are being put in circulation, Joseph says, are evil disposed and designing persons. Missionaries are evil disposed and designing persons? And goes on to describe them as militating against the church and its character and its progress in the world. Missionaries are sabotaging the church. Do we know who they are? And so the name of the church is given. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And there's a footnote, 1A, on Latter-day. And 1A says, Topical Guide, Restoration of the Gospel. So, unbeknownst to Mormons and critics of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has released in full, as of Joseph Smith's death day, on June 27th this year, and then they found the Book of the Law of God and released that right before Thanksgiving. And it was rushed, and so you can only access it through the pictures and not the actual text, because they didn't have time to type it. They were in a hurry to get it out before Thanksgiving, when they knew no one would find out about it, except for me. I get to wear red today. Isaiah 63. In the Joseph Smith papers, Mormons believe that everything is confirmed, that we don't need to look at them because we've already had the scriptures. We're already told all the information anyway at church and at conference and such. So everything's fine. All is well. No need to look them up. It's just evidence, documented evidence, that everything that the prophets have been telling us is true and accurate. And it has no need to be changed. No need for a new edition of the scriptures. No need to rewrite history yet again. Everything's the same. Nothing to fear, nothing to see here, move along. Right? That's what Mormons believe. Critics, they've already got their conclusions too. They don't look at the Joseph Smith papers either. Right? Oops. You should have looked at the Joseph Smith papers, because there's a bombshell here. There's a whole bunch of bombshells. 7 years, and when I finally found the Joseph Smith papers, the actual first one that I found was 19 July 1840. Oh! There Brigham is. Oh! Oh! Oops. Sorry, Brigham. You really didn't have authority, did you? Yeah, not only does Brigham Young not have authority to just automatically take over the church as the president of the 12, but Joseph Smith even condemned him, pointed him out in the audience, and said, "He will murder me." And so who was in Carthage jail? Willard Richards and John Taylor. At Joseph Smith's history in the Joseph Smith papers, the name of the church is not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And the Joseph Smith papers tells us that that was changed from the original name of the Church of Christ, 6th April 1830. It was changed in 1834. The leadership of the church, the presidents of the various quorums, gathered in a priesthood leadership meeting. And in that meeting, we are told in the minutes that Sidney Rigdon raised his hand and said, "Hey, I propose a name change. The Church of the Latter-day Saints." They had a vote. The vote was unanimous. The name of the church was changed. Okay? In 1838, Oliver Cowdery didn't like the way that Sidney Rigdon and Joseph Smith were directing the church and left. Later that year, David Whitmer was approached by a group known as Danites. They threatened him. "Join us, or you and your family have to get out, or we're going to murder you. Get out of the church, out of the state." David Whitmer then goes to Oliver Cowdery and reports to him what had happened in the church. See, they're brother-in-laws. Oliver Cowdery married a Whitmer, and David Whitmer was the brother of the Whitmer girl that Oliver Cowdery married. And that's why the Whitmers are part of the witnesses at the beginning, because of the whole house thing. 1.5 months to do the whole Book of Mormon from scratch. Right, Bruce? Bruce Abercrombie? It's 1829, not 1828. Section 10. Oops. And so, David Whitmer tells Oliver Cowdery that the Danites threatened him, and that they had told him that Joseph Smith was ordering them to do this. That it was Joseph Smith ordering these Danites, that he was now the leader of, to go around and murder people. Well, there's a problem. Joseph Smith was framed by the Danites and locked up in Liberty Jail. That's where amen to the priesthood comes from. But that's what the Danites told him. And so he was believing it and telling Oliver Cowdery. And he also told Oliver that Joseph Smith had violated his own processes and procedures for renaming the church. That Joseph Smith is now the leader of the Danites, going around murdering Mormons who do not join the Danites. And he changed the name all by himself. And wouldn't you know it, there is a document that proves this is true. Nelson spoke it over the pulpit of conference. Sorry, guys. Jesus is angry with the name of Joseph Smith's church, the Church of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church. It's a nickname, and Jesus is angry now. Nelson said that. You know he said that. Don't you tell me you didn't hear it. You know exactly. And this is where he got it from. For thus shall my church be called in the last days, even the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they don't capitalize the D. That's interesting. I'm going to check the logo that is currently in use and confirm if that's the case. Let's see, where do I have that? Here we go. It's on the Book of Mormon with the Salt Lake Temple and the nuclear bomb going off. Yeah, it's capital. Well, all caps. That's why. Just checking. Just checking. So, well, who is this by? Well, it says at the beginning, Verily thus saith the Lord unto you, Joseph Smith Jr., Sidney Rigdon, and Hiram Smith, and your counselors, who are and shall be appointed hereafter. Also unto you, Edward Partridge, and his counselors, and also unto the faithful servants who are of the high council of my church in Zion. And so it seems like it's a priesthood leadership meeting. And Joseph is violating what they did in 1834. This was given April 26th, 1838. Let's find out when Oliver Cowdery left. Oliver Cowdery was outraged. How could Joseph do something like that? 1838, split with Smith. By early 1838, Smith and Cowdery disagreed on three significant issues. First, Cowdery competed with Smith for leadership of the new church and disagreed with the prophet's economic and political program and sought a personal financial independence from the Zion Society that Joseph Smith envisioned. And so you need to understand the context here. At the end of 1837, the Danites had sabotaged the Curtin Safety Society. They took out loans and didn't pay them back, and thus crashed the bank. And Joseph Smith was blamed for it. He had 17 lawsuits, but he was able to avoid prosecution for those. and returned. So he needed to figure out a new financial way to take care of the church. And so Oliver Cowdery wanted it one way. Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon were choosing another way. Then in March, that's before April, 1838, Smith and Rigdon took over the Far West Church, which had been under the presidency of W. W. Phelps and Cowdery's brother-in-law. And initiated policies that Cowdery, Phelps, and the Whitmers believed violated the separation of church and state. And so, finally, in January, you're supposed to put this before, dear God. Finally, in January 1838, Cowdery wrote his brother Warren that he and Smith had some conversation in which, in every instance, I did not fail to affirm that which I had said was strictly true. A dirty, nasty, filthy affair of his and Fanny Algire's was taken over, in which I strictly declared that I had never deserted from the truth in the matter, and as I supposed was admitted by himself. So he saw it? Or is he just making an accusation? You need to know that the Salem witch trials was not too long previous to this. Whenever somebody disagrees with you, it was a quick, easy thing to accuse them of witchcraft. It was very common, especially in Salem, Massachusetts. As one of the Smiths was asked to testify in the case of a couple of women for a brother-in-law of his. And so then they're now speculating here. They shouldn't have done this if this is supposed to be a legitimate source for factual information. Because they say, Alger, a teenage maid living with the Smiths in Kirtland, may have been. You see, again, David Whitmer was the one who came to Oliver Cowdery and was told that the Danites were ordered by Joseph Smith. I'm reading on here, and so I'm... And so, it got so bad that on April 12th, 1838, the revelation was on April 26th, 1838. 14 days, 2 weeks earlier, a church court excommunicated Cowdery. So it was the quorum of the 12 missionaries, right? No, the High Council. Where Joseph Smith Sr. was still in it. And Samuel Smith. Section 102. But he didn't show. Instead, he sent a letter of resignation, which is now the church's processes and procedures. If you want to leave the church, you've got to send a letter to your bishop and have a sit-down interview with him as he sexually assaults you and threatens you to stay Mormon, or you're going to burn in hell. So you see what's going on here? David Whitmer was excommunicated from the church at the same time? No. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. See, Oliver Cowdery and the Whitmers became known as the Dissenters, but continued to live in and around Far West, where they owned a great deal of property. On June 17th, 1838, Rigdon announced to the large Latter-day Saint congregation that the Dissenters were as the salt that had lost its savor, and that it was the duty of the faithful to cast them out to be trodden beneath the feet of men. He's just quoting from the Gospels. That was the salt sermon. It was seen as a threat of violence and an implicit instruction to the Danites, a secret vigilante group. I'm sure the church would be honest about these guys. The Danite Manifesto, a letter addressed to Cowdery and the other dissenters, was signed by some 84 Latter-day Saints. We have those names. They match the ledger that came out right before Thanksgiving. Smith was not one of it. They didn't forge his signature. You shall have 3 days after you receive this communication to you, including 24 hours in each day, for you to depart with your families peaceably, which you may do undisturbed by any person. But in that time, if you do not depart, we will use the means in our power to cause you to depart. The Danites caused the collapse of the bank that got Joseph in trouble. The Danites were the ones who caused the election fraud. Chris Stewart's third great grandfather was the first one to get knocked to the ground. They're in Davies County, Missouri. That is right next to Adam Anti-Amen, where section 117 is given about this Newell K. Whitney, who, in verse 11, supposedly by Joseph Smith, let my servant Newell K. Whitney be ashamed of the Nicolaitan band and of all their secret abominations. Come up to the land of Adam Anti-Amen and be a bishop unto my people. He had a home right there. Section 116 is in the Joseph Smith papers. You can see it very clearly because the previous text in that same book is not seen so clearly. It's faded. Then all of a sudden, section 116 and the surrounding passages are clearly visible with fresh, brand new ink. What was the date of this one again? Section 117? July 8th, 1838. These Danites didn't just stop there. These Danites threatened others. There was far more than 84 that went down to the voting booth polling station to cause an election fraud. And that started the war, called the Mormon War. And they went to the judge and to the sheriff and threatened them to sign an affirmation document that it was Joseph Smith who was telling them to do this, to side with them, to overthrow the election, to decertify the election. You know, just like Senator Mike Lee did in the 2020 election, which we have plenty of documents and recordings of him doing so. Hey, he's the third great grandson of Danite John D. Lee, who was also a part of this group. Like third great grandfather, like third great grandson. Yes, John D. Lee is also the 9/11/1857 Mountain Meadows Massacre bishop. Yeah, women and children slaughtered by him under the orders of Brigham Young, who wisely altered the date to the 13th so that he can be separated from John D. Lee's actions. And so, yes, Danites are in this church. But I thought those Danites were the rebels who didn't go with Brigham. You're that naive, are you? Or you're in denial of the truth. The ledger corresponds with the Danite Manifesto. We know who they are. In fact, I tried watching Indiana Jones Dialed Destiny last night, and there's too much German with no subtitles. So I've been trying to redo it to get the subtitles. So I hope that one worked. What do you know? There it is. And we just do a download PDF. June 1838. Oliver Cowdery, David Whitmer, John Whitmer, W.W. Phelps, Lyman E. Johnson. Greeting. It's like that Mormon commenting yesterday. Of course it's hesitating to download. Oh, they don't show the signatures of the 84 men. Come on. And so January, Joseph Smith was not able to, yeah, obviously there was a cloud server error. They're not wanting me to do it. So sad. Is that the church involved in this? Is it? I'll have to try another approach. Seriously? I don't care about package scams. I'm in the middle of a video. Go away. Oh my God, did that just ruin the word? See, I don't know if I have this in my files already, because my files are too big, not just the video files. So we'll have to keep on trucking until it comes up or doesn't come up. And so, Joseph Smith is locked up in Liberty Jail. And notice that the salt sermon was only for those few dissenters who they knew of from excommunication, because they were vehemently opposed to what Joseph Smith was doing. And you can see that the Danites were already part of the sabotage. There we go. And so, David Whitmer, we'd have to check, but I'm going to wait for the office to come up here. So slow. This is my gaming computer. That's what I bought it for. This is supposed to be lickety-split, speedy, quick. I've now got high-speed internet. And yet, it is slower than it's ever been in its entire existence. I, of course, blame Microsoft for sabotaging it. But so let's go to section 119. July 8th, 1838. This supposedly is Joseph's new method for economy. Is it? I require all their surplus property, section 119, in case I didn't say that, to be put into the hands of the bishop of my church in Zion, for the building of mine house, and for the laying of the foundation of Zion, and for the priesthood. What? What? The Book of Mormon condemns priestcraft. Goes into a big old spiel in 2 Nephi chapter 26, right there near the end. That God does not like priestcraft. Even though it's legal in the United States of America, the Lord says no. You are supposed to freely preach the gospel, not demand that people pay you. Tithing, according to Malachi, is for the poor. And yet, in 1838, Joseph Smith is now also getting revelation. Also getting revelation. Just way too slow. This is a high-speed system with high-speed internet. So we're going to save it here. Then there's the church, the Mormon Menace, Myth of Mormons, the fifth tribe of Israel, Danites, Brigham's Destroying Angel. What is this? It's from Bill Hickman about the Destroying Angel of Brigham. That's the Danites description. What is Brigham doing with the Danite Destroying Angel? Oh no! Those mean old Danites. Can't they just leave us alone? It's 228 pages. Dear God. Well, we'll get a copy of this, too. Want the names of the 26. Oh, Jeremy Runnels admits that one of his Danite ancestors signed that document. So let's see if Jeremy Runnels... Wait a minute. It's Fair Latter-day Saints. It's rebuttal. Markham. Yes, I did see your name on the ledger that the church released before Thanksgiving. And so Markham is the one confessing to being a Danite, responding to Jeremy Runnels. The early saints were familiar with this style of preaching, and many found it to be highly entertaining. The Salt Sermon? They knew that Brigham cared about them and wanted to see them stay strong in the gospel, so they understood that his words were often for effect, or sometimes for shock value rather than his legitimate views. Really? Try Methodist preaching. Yeah, you don't even know he was a Methodist preacher. Dear God. We don't know Brigham. We don't know what atmosphere was like at those events. We know he's a racist. We know he's a sexist. We know he did the blood atonement. We know he believed in Adam was Heavenly Father who raped his daughter, who was 14 years old. I'm not seeing the Danite Manifesto here. These stories originate with the Danites. Some of this, okay, yeah, the blood, he's talking about the blood atonement. He's trying to say it's the Danite, not Brigham Young. And some from the Mountain Meadows Massacre. A Danite. Do your research, dude. Oh, right, you're a Danite, so you have to cover things up. And so, yeah, he's admitting without admitting. And daughters of Zion, as they called themselves, because of the Hebrew that says daughters, but it generally means children of Zion, if it were translated correctly. But not in all cases, as I had to explain some last month, I think. Brothers of Gideon. And so yeah, the Danites were involved in slavery. Here's a link to the Danite Manifesto. He's saying that Hiram Smith was listed on it. I don't see it listed. It just says the above was signed by some 84 Mormons. Give me the names. Under construction. They're hiding the names from us. See, it's down. '84 signed names. No. Let's see if BYU Studies will give us the names. 28 pages. Danite Band of 1838. Danite Constitution. Oh, okay. So it goes over the various articles. So this will be necessary if I don't already have it. Relationship to the first presidency. Throwing Joseph under the bus. Excuse me. See, how could Joseph Smith know of the Danite Band, condemn Newell K. Whitney for it, but then decide to join it? Did you not catch that when I read over it? And here, he even admits, Sidney Rigdon's connection with the Danites is truly open to question. No. Do the facts. We'll figure it out. Here's the Salt Sermon. Summary and conclusions. You don't give us the names. Why are you guys hiding the names? Here's another one. Leland H. Gentry. Huh, I know first name Gentry. It's a female name. This is I'm only seeing individual names, not the list. Avard, which yes is in the ledger released before Thanksgiving. Samson of Ard, designer, craftsman, and leading light of the Danite band. Yep, connecting it to Illuminati. Joseph Smith and other leading church officials spent the next several months in Missouri jails. The Danite sign of distress was given by John L. Butler? Again confirming they were Scottish Rite. Interesting. Reader's Library, huh? (165 pages). The Confessions of John Doyle Lee. John D. Lee. Danite. Wow. Oh, Mike Lee, you are toast. This is his book that he wrote. The Confessions of John D. Lee, 1812 to 1877, with Alfred Henry Lewis, published in 1905. Wow. Got that one now. The Mormon Menace. Interesting. So he confesses. Whether he gives names, I don't know. He does mention some, as he talks about the Danite sign of distress, as they took over the Scottish Rites that Joseph Smith had become a part of in 1842. And again, they're only quoting 84 names. The above manifesto was signed by 83 determined men. Among the names we recognize some of the members of the High Council and others holding high positions in the church, including Hiram Smith in the First Presidency, one of the First Presidency. Robinson himself was one of the letter's signatures. And they only quote Schindler as if it's Schindler's List. God, give me the names. I'll try this one, but I don't think it's going to give me anything. Covenant or oath by penalties or secrecies. That's Brigham Young's temple endowment. Interesting. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. No, that's a different thing. Yeah, he doesn't list them either. But he does include the connection to the Danites with the current endowment, at least up until come on. Interesting. So I don't know if those of you who are listening know about the temple endowment prior to 1991. That's when I went through. It was May 6th, 1989. And so I know about the penalty oaths that he's referring to the Danites doing here. And what is it doing in Brigham Young's temple endowment? See, again, these guys, they don't... Oh, what am I doing? Just need to click on that. See, Mormons don't do this study in connection to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Alright, let's redo this. Who were the names of the 84 on the Danite Manifesto? No, not the people they were talking to. Academic kids. Seriously? Yeah, the church isn't going to give up the names. 84, although there are no fatalities. Shurtleff revealed that Joseph Smith was also a Danite? D. Michael Quinn? Shurtleff, that's a different spelling, isn't it? Doesn't he have an E? That's Mark Shurtleff. Dude! I looked for Shurtleff. I didn't see Shurtleff listed on that list, but... Okay, 29 pages. It is by D. Michael Quinn. His devoted friend, Benjamin Franklin Johnson, a Kirtland resident, noted that for insolence to him, he thrashed his brother William, who boasted himself as invincible. Benjamin Franklin Johnson was threatened in 1838 by the Danites in Adamon-Diomen. Leave Joseph's church. Convert to us. And so he says, to this day, that is taught to us in seminary, I never denied my testimony of the Danite Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So we as Mormons must likewise do the same. I'm not finding anything in here. This is from his National Culture, Personality and Theocracy in Early Mormonism, Culture of Violence. Alright, fine, Wikipedia. Danite Manifesto. And Danite Manifesto has been deleted. Robinson later said that all of the signers were Danites. And it's Quinn, 1994. You gotta give us the names. You can't just say that there were names and not list them. This is poor Quinn. The Mormon Hierarchy, Origins of Power. I've got that book. Okay. So supposedly in that book are the names. Number of Danites. 8 and 1000 men, well armed, militant, and equipped. So, yeah, this is taking longer than I wanted. They aren't giving me the answers that I wanted. But you can see what I've done here, going over this with you. There are some problems in the claims that are being made against Joseph and Hiram, because clearly the scriptures that we have do not match up. And so to rush to a hasty conclusion, as I've already confirmed 3 separate testings to establish it as fact that Joseph Smith was framed, that section 115, 116, 117 even though it's Joseph condemning a Danite, 119, and technically even 118. The Lord will provide for the families of the 12. Vacancies in the 12 are filled. Yeah, no. Nope. Nope. This one too. Because they chased out Thomas B. Marsh. And they claim that it was because his wife was caught withholding milk scrapings. And so the claim was that Joseph Smith was the one who excommunicated him. He was in Liberty Jail. Thomas B. Marsh was excommunicated on the 17th of March, 1838, not by the High Council, by Brigham Young. Brigham Young sent him a letter. Said, you have a disciplinary court hearing on this date, March 17th, 1839. We expect you to be in attendance. He never showed. Brigham Young then excommunicated him. He had no authority to do so. He had no authority to conduct a court. And so, with the absence of Thomas B. Marsh, the quorum of 12 voted Brigham Young to be the president. That's not how it's done today, is it? But that's exactly how Joseph Smith said it was to be done in section 107, verse 21. Why didn't the Danites chase out Brigham Young? They were purging the leadership. Why didn't they threaten Heber C. Kimball? Heber C. Kimball is the source that we know that the bank was sabotaged by those who were taking out loans. He was upset. He doesn't name anybody, but he's upset that people had sabotaged the bank. He's covering his ass. We know that Heber C. Kimball is a liar, pants on fire because of his masonry account. He was there in Canandaigua, New York. He knew the Master Mason, but doesn't mention any of it. Who was that Master Mason, Joseph Smith Sr.? Yeah, and so these are the things you got to check for when you're doing research. Check to see if they're lying to you. Check to see if there's controversy contradicting documents. You know, the section 119 on tithing for priestcraft, seriously? Goes against the Book of Mormon? Changing the name of the church, not through the authorized process that Joseph Smith himself set up? These are the kinds of things that make you go, what the hell is going on? And that's why Oliver Cowdery, in his book Defense, was shocked and horrified. How could Joseph Smith have done this? This is so night and day different from Joseph Smith that I knew, even though I was upset and left. And believed it was Sidney Rigdon that had to have whispered into his ear all this stuff to completely alter and defy the Book of Mormon. The answer is no. When you pay attention to what they say. The Danites told David Whitmer, who told Oliver Cowdery. There is no connection to Joseph Smith. And thus it is wrong to make the connection to Joseph Smith and blame him. Because Brigham ended up in jail. Brigham Young reigned supreme on the church. And then these other things and bombshells that I discovered today, confirming that the penalties come from Brigham Young, that the Danites were using. And the plot to take over the United States of America. This is the Danite plot. And here you see Joseph Fielding Smith, the son of Hiram Smith, who was raised up by Heber C. Kimball, and thus in the Brighamite branch here in this valley. They got him. So this was not my intended video. It took a detour. My intended video was something else. It had to do with authority, but it ended up talking about the Danites. And I can't remember because I didn't write it down, because it was during my run that I came up with it. But yeah, if I remember, I'll write it down. We'll do another one for that. But yeah, again, I'm showing you how to do your research, how to fact check, because there's already knowledge that I already confirmed as factual. And so when I see these things, I'm able to know, and thus I showed you what to check to confirm. So, wow, yeah, I'm definitely going to be able to shower, shave, and eat, and watch the movie, see if it works. It's 2.5 hours. This is only 1.5.